Welcome back to Legacy Builders Unleashed. I'm here with Terry McKee, and he's going to share a little bit about his background in procurement, in government contracting, and just really kind of demystify government contracting for you guys, but also share with you the experience and the procurement side. So, Terry is a procurement director in his agency, and Terry, honestly, let's talk about what's going on in Knoxville, Tennessee. Is it snowing? Like, what does it look like? And how did you get into this work?
Okay, great questions. Today is sunny, but somewhat abnormally cool for us. We had
Hmm,
storms last night, so I think today's high was supposed to be 45. Probably
wow,
55 to
it's
60 is
hot.
more common for us. Um,
Okay.
minus the mountains. If you're in the valley, if you go into the mountains, of course, it's colder, and they probably had snow last night, whereas we had rain.
That's true.
So I came into government or local government procurement in the last century, 1988. And as we like to say, to look at it positively, I fell into it, but I fell in
Mm,
love with government procurement. And
wow.
so I started right out of grad school and went to work for Knox County government. And then after 8 years or so, moved to Knox County Schools. And then again, after 8-ish years, you see a little pattern, I moved to what's called Knoxville's Community Development Corporation,
Mm,
which is the public
yeah.
housing and redevelopment authority for the city of
Mm,
Knoxville and Knox County. Um,
wow.
and if you're in Chicago or St. Petersburg or New York City, it would be called the New York City Housing Authority or the Chicago Housing Authority. We're the same. It's just we chose to have a different name. And I've been here
Yeah.
20 years. So in November I started my 38th year in local government procurement, and
Congratulations.
I
That's
love
awesome.
it. It's good public service, and
Mm,
as a friend of mine, Don Buffum, he retired from Mississippi State, head of procurement. As he says, we're making the world better one purchase order at a time.
oh, that's cute. I like that.
So I'll steal that from Don.
Yeah, really cool. Wow. I mean, that's congratulations for just 3+ decades of just commitment. And we were talking just a brief moment before we started recording is, gosh, I want to pick your brain because that's a lot of presidents, that's a lot of administrations, that's a lot of change in our communities and our world
Yes,
in and specifically in the state of Tennessee. And so that's really I would love to learn more about like what just kind of let's kind of go into the questions. Let me just not go too
sure.
far because you're really interesting. So I want to go and talk a lot of ask you a lot, but I want to be thoughtful of time and respect the conversation. So, what do you wish most business owners understood before they ever tried to sell to your agency?
The rules that we have to abide by, and they all play back to fairness, transparency, and openness.
Yeah.
Every rule has a logical reason. It may not seem logical, and we have most purchasing people have great sympathy for businesses because there are 90,000 state and local governments in this nation, and
Yes.
we all have different rules, different bid thresholds, different thresholds at quote that which quotes are required. In Knox County alone, there are about 15 governments, quasi governments, from the really large Tennessee Valley authorities headquartered here, University of Tennessee, the city, the county, and us. And then various utility districts and public building authorities, and there's the town of Farragut, all in this county. And we all have slightly different rules. I mean, as far as I know, we're all professional. I know most people because I've been around a long time, but we're all professional, and most of us have agency accreditations from the National Institute of Governmental Procurement, but we do things differently.
Mhm.
So I have great empathy for vendors. My example, there's at least 15 governments in this county. We all have
Yeah.
separate vendor registration platforms or
Yeah.
papers, depending.
Yeah.
We all have different bid thresholds. We all have different insurance requirements. If you want to do business with the city, you have to they will cross-check you to make sure you have a city business license. If you wanna do business with the county, they will cross-check and make sure you have a county business license. So it's very complex for vendors, and then you
Mm.
multiply that across our state, and I am a nerd, so I can tell you there's around 1,000 governments in this state. So you just imagine the complexity of a vendor if they want to do business with every city, every county,
Mm.
every school district. It would be a nightmare.
It would
Um,
be a nightmare. It is a nightmare. So I have an agency, a done for you proposal development agency, and it's one of the things that I emphasize with my clients. I tell them, okay, I know you want to expand. I know you want to do business with everybody. Let's simplify it because every agency, you almost want to think of it like a different company because they have their
yes,
different culture, mission, they have their different budgets, they have their different needs, their focus and their goals. It's like getting to know a new client. And so there is like you have to get acclimated to it. You have to get acclimated to those people. Yeah.
that's a perfect analogy, actually, that consider each government a different company. Great
Yeah.
analogy. I've never
Thank
used that. I will steal that from you.
I
Because
give
we
it
all are
freely.
different. And I
Yeah.
use the word culture a lot
Mhm.
because at our housing authority, we have no elected officials. That
Mm.
impacts our
Ah,
culture versus a county, which may have the county I live
commissioners.
in has 21 elected commissioners. The county I work in has 11, I think it is. So
Wow.
it puts a different that alone puts a different culture there. And then
Yeah.
even if it's the next housing authority, let's take the Nashville Housing Authority.
Mhm.
They are a housing authority largely funded by HUD, very similar to us, but they have their own culture. They have no
Yeah.
elected officials, but they're in a bigger entity. Nashville's bigger than Knoxville. Not the Metro Nashville Council has 40 something members, I believe. So that
Mhm.
puts a different complexion on how they do things. So
Mm.
that is a wonderful analogy, and I will start using that. That you have to think of us each as a separate company. And then
Mhm.
if you're a really large local government, your departments may have additional rules.
Mm.
There's going to be corporate-wide rules or
Oh,
government-wide,
yeah.
but just to make one up, the Public Works Department and a really big entity might have some additional rules because they saw fit, and it's typically in a really big city or county, not
Yeah.
average. So it is very challenging, and sometimes procurement is your entryway. Like at our
Mhm.
housing authority, you sort of are buffered through my office, and
Hmm.
then we send word out to the property managers, the maintenance supervisors that XYZ has met us. They'd love to get to know you, and I'll send a business card or flyer. Other entities, you just show up at the public works or the sheriff's department or codes or XYZ high school, and that's fine. So it is very challenging for vendors to know
What
where
to
do we
do
start with.
each.
And
Yeah.
procurement is if a local government has a procurement office, that's a good place to start, and then they can sort of direct you how
Mhm.
they want you to do. And your clients should be aware that not all local governments have a procurement office because they're too small
They're
or
too
they just
small.
don't feel the need. So, in our lingo, we call it centralized, non-centralized. So sometimes you may have to hit every department because they may do their own bidding,
Mm.
or like a lot of us, we're centralized, so all bidding comes through a central procurement office. Again,
Mm.
it's the learning curve. If I'm going to try to market to Walmart, I've got to learn Walmart rules. If I'm going to try to market to Target, I'm going to have to learn Target rules. And it's the
Yeah.
same with local governments.
You know what? That actually brought up a thought about co-ops, like cooperative programs or piggybacks.
Mhm.
Is that why the smaller governments collectively, like, it's not necessarily share vendors because they're not, you're not getting awarded, but within the piggyback programs, Is that why they're created for those smaller agencies?
Typically, and there's
Okay.
typically two reasons. One is the workload.
Mm,
So, for instance, at this housing authority, there's two of us in procurement. We cannot process every bid that needs processed.
yeah.
So it's a time savings, but also it can be a financial savings. So most of the
Yeah.
co-ops are based from a large entity. So again, there's different models of cooperative arrangements, but the typical model is they call it a client puts out a bid. So let's say a
Mm,
big city, Charlotte, North Carolina, because I know
sure.
they've done it before. For one of the national co-ops, Charlotte might, or Los Angeles,
Yes.
or Dallas, or whoever, put
Yeah.
out their own bid for auto repair supplies, and then they market it through the national co-op and put language in that says for any government in the United States. Well,
Mm,
if we buy auto parts at we're technically considered a large housing authority by HUD definition, but I guarantee you Charlotte's budget in my example is probably 50 times our budget.
bigger. Yeah.
So we leverage their volume. So
Nice.
those are the two reasons. It helps smaller places, whatever that means to
Yeah.
you, to get a better price, and it also reduces your workload. Because in
Nice.
our example, a lot of really small housing authorities think we're gigantic. And then I think New York City, Chicago, Puerto Rico are gigantic. So it's
Gigantic.
all a matter of perspective.
It's all packed. Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point.
We do a lot of bids with the city or with the county or both,
Mm,
because we're all here together, and there's
yeah.
some things that we have that are unique, some the city has that are unique, but we all have trash collection, for instance.
Mm,
We all have mail pre-sort services. So we do a bid with the county for pre-sort services. We do a bid with the city for trash collection. We're leveraging their volume, and it reduces
yeah.
some work for us. And then local governments in most states, can use statewide contracts where the state government itself bids things out. Most states put a clause in that any local government in the state can use it. And then, the same premise, there's less admin work, and you're leveraging the
Mhm.
state of Tennessee's volume.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and some states require local governments to look at state contracts before they bid. Tennessee is not one of those, but some do.
Oh, oh,
We
that's
can use
interesting.
them if we want, but we don't have to use them.
You don't have to use them. Interesting. So,
So
when you evaluate vendors, contractors, what makes a company instantly stand out as ready for government work?
so some of this answer may sort of sound trite, but frankly, one of the things would be that they followed the bidding directions. So some examples of 38 years. If you get our name wrong throughout the document, that's just poor quality
Mm,
control. Without mentioning a company name, a few years ago we did proposals for some sort of consulting service, and a particular company submitted a proposal, and throughout the proposal it said, "We are proud to present this for the city of Chicago." We all use seek and replace or find and replace in Word. We all do.
sure,
But you have to
sure.
have quality control.
To check those things. Yeah.
And they were not ready because, to go off your question, because obviously they didn't have quality control. And it
Mm,
happens once in a 30-page document, who cares? But throughout the document,
yeah.
use our pricing formats.
Mm,
Don't just
that's true.
arbitrarily change our, if we ask for it by the hour, we want it by the hour. Or, if
Right.
we ask for it by the each, we want it by the each, not the hour. But then you have to be, on a more practical sense, you have to have the insurances. If you don't have, for services anyway, if you don't have the insurance, you're not ready to do business. Almost every government requires insurance for services.
Yes.
If it's
Yes.
construction, you're going to have to be able to be bonded, and then licensure, depending on the state. In Tennessee, if it's construction, it's sort of a complex process for governments to bid, and that would be another whole podcast by itself. But but if you're doing construction, whatever that state or city's requirements are, you have to already
Yeah,
have those, or we cannot do business with you, depending on
100%.
the
Even if it's
thresholds.
just a representation certificate of insurance, just to say this is for proposal use, or
So
unless they ask specifically for the cert in the proposal process, right?
so
Is that
what a
right?
yes, what a lot of us do is we put our requirements in the document, but tell you don't go to the hassle of getting it. Just
Yes.
be advised that this is what we will require, because we don't want to put vendors out time and cost with their agent. But here's our requirement. If you win, you have to have this. But please don't
Right.
run and waste your time getting it now because you may not win. And we see people do that. And it's like, oh, I wish you wouldn't waste your time, because time is
Yeah.
money. If you're
Yes.
taking time to do that, and let's say you're a two-person business, you just tied up half your staff.
Right. I mean, unless you already have it, right?
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
very
hurt
good.
us. It doesn't hurt us at all. It's just one more piece of
No.
paper, but it's like you don't want to do that. Some
Yeah.
common mistakes I've seen and I talk about in
Mm.
pre-bid meetings. Don't forget your bond. If we ask for a bond in most states, the bid bond has to be with your bid or we cannot consider your bid. Don't forget to sign your bid. Different states and different cities and localities have different opinions. Some places you'd be thrown out if you don't sign it. Some of us call that an informality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some things we can waive and get corrected, and that would be one of them in here, but not everywhere. So read, read, read. We write everything for a reason. Some of us write better than others, to be honest. A lot of procurement people in this nation,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
stands to reason. But read what we write because there's a reason it's there. And if you
Mhm.
have questions, please ask them before the due date and not
Yes.
5 minutes before, because it takes us time to get answers to you sometimes. And
That's
then
good.
in a modern world, if you a lot of us have online bidding platforms, and we will tell you if we do, you submit your questions through the platform. So don't
Yes.
call me, don't email me. Back to the transparency, openness, consistency. If it's all on the platform, every bidder has the same information. But if you
That's right.
call me and I actually answered you, I would be giving you special
Treatment.
care, special
Yeah.
treatment. Thank you. And that's something we try not to do. And we all have our own preferred mode of communication. The stereotypical boomers like to do telephone call and younger people like to text and so on. And that's fine. But if we tell you to email it in the bid document, you email questions. If we tell you to submit them through the portal, submit through the portal. If we tell you to call, then call.
That's really good. You pointed something out, like in terms of their generation, the form of communication preferred. That's really smart because I find that so when I'm advising clients, I'm advising them to call, but be really intentional on how you're calling them. Don't just like call to shoot the breeze for 30 minutes. They're busy. Make sure that it's strategic, it's an intentional conversation to have if you're still bidding. And then the same thing when you get awarded, right? The conversation continues to build relationship. But I hadn't really put that together in terms of understanding preferred methods of communication for different generations. That's really interesting.
and and also what we can accept depends. If it's a non-bid situation, you're free to call, email,
Right.
text. If we're
Yeah.
doing a bid and we tell you only through the portal, it's a
To
hard
get through
stop. But if you're
yeah.
trying to get in to meet me to say I have the best widgets or I provide the best lawn care, do what's easiest for you. Call, text, email. But as you said, frankly, I'm not going to give you 30 minutes for a cold call.
No.
I might give you 5 and say let's schedule a
Yes.
Zoom or a Teams. And also, and I'm somewhat unusual for a boomer. I am a boomer. I'm not into people dropping in and expecting an audience. if you want to drop in with Terry, you're probably going to get 5 minutes if I'm available at all. And then I'll say, let's email and we'll set something up because as you said, we were all busy and I do back-to-back Zooms a lot of days. I think I had 4 yesterday, or Teams.
Wow.
Actually, it was a mixture of Teams and Zoom, jumping back and forth. But so and sometimes in-person meetings. I kid
Mm.
here that with our staff, that new staff, the best way to reach me is by text or email because I'm always in a meeting of one sort or the other. Uh, so
Yeah,
and there are still salespeople and it's fine. Obviously, it works. But there's salespeople that pop in and expect we're going to hang out for an hour and chat, and that's not
that's not
typically realistic.
no, no. Yeah, these are tax dollars. We need to make
Yep.
sure that we're being thoughtful of that too.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of the biggest red flags that cause you to pass on a vendor or a proposal?
Well, we've discussed some of them: sloppiness, lack of attention. What would I want to be politically correct here? Pat answer, trying to force
Mm,
your format onto me, and then not being certified, licensed,
yeah,
and
if
so
you
on.
need to
And
be, right, yeah.
if you need to be, and being evasive. If I ask you what color is the sky, tell me the sky is blue, gray, whatever it is today. And we can live with, no, we don't provide that service, but we do, we mow, we don't landscape. Okay, that's
Mhm,
fine. We can talk, or vice versa. We landscape, we don't mow, as an example. Just don't try to pretend that you do everything and
mhm,
we're perfect. Then you didn't directly ask this, but a piece of Terry advice: it is not necessary. We want a deal from you, but we also want you to make money. So
mhm,
don't come in assuming that you're going to get your foot in the door at 80% off your retail, because
right,
we're going to question that. Why are you so cheap? Hmm.
yeah,
But two, as I tell people, I want you to make money. I don't do this for free, and I don't want you doing it for free. I love
mhm,
what I do. But when our CEO ever comes to me and says, Terry, you do a great job, but I can't pay you anymore, then I'm gone. And it's
yeah,
the same with you, Mr. Mower, Mrs. Construction, Mr. Printing, Mrs. Architect. I want you to make money, maybe a little bit less than you make on the private side. Make a little more at McDonald's, or when you're designing something for McDonald's, make more. When you're mowing the HOA, make more money, but I still expect you to make money. Part of it is because I like to think I'm a nice human being, but also from our entity, you're no value to us if you give us such a great deal in the first quarter of 26 that you go bankrupt in the second quarter. Yeah, you didn't
yeah,
really help us. So,
mm,
so if you're way under priced for the market, we wonder. I took a long way to say that. And if you're
yeah,
way overpriced, we're going to wonder. We had a gentleman that used to work here, and he would say, wow, they're really proud of their work. And we're going to wonder why you're so proud of your work.
mm,
Is
oh,
everybody else doing the job not very good compared to you? Or are you just trying to make a load of money off of? So those are some things we've seen, or
mm,
thinking you a very down to earth example. Years ago, we first started contracting out mowing, and I exaggerate, but and we have hundreds of acres that get mowed over our 20 or so sites. He, and I'm exaggerating a bit, but this company went to Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, wherever, and bought 2 John Deere residential riding mowers and thought they were going to do one of our properties alone as 60 acres. And they thought
oh
somehow they were going to,
no,
and John Deere is a fine, don't get me wrong, I
it's
own
a good
John Deere
product, but it's not meant
for my half acre level suburban kind of lot. But for doing 60 acres, yeah, and I'm exaggerating just a tad, but have the equipment to do the job, whether that's mowing or building something. And also, I guess another thought popped in my mind: you need to vet your subcontractors if it's that kind of an
mm,
arrangement. Don't come to us later and say, well, we messed up because our subs were awful. Well, that's on
Mm,
you. You picked them,
yeah,
not me. So there you go.
yeah. Wow. Did you see a lot of brokering or business owners who come and sub the work to a like a consultant that hires the mower, and then do you see some of that in Knoxville?
Sometimes in certain
Mm,
industries, not tons. I know in some places in the country it seems to be more rampant, but
mm,
there is some of that here. And we're actually fine if that's your model. You just need to tell us up front, and we want to know
mm,
who those partners are.
mm.
So we are mostly federally funded here. So we are required, for one thing, to do a federal debarment check on you and your subcontractors. We
Good.
need to know them up front, and we have to document in our file in case the auditor pulls it that yes, we did a debarment check. So we actually have to know your subs or whatever the phraseology, your partners or whatever.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
if we're
Okay.
doing requests for proposals, we're fine if it's some sort of consortium that proposes. Just tell us
Sure.
who all's in it.
Yes.
You know, so that's
Okay.
part of the evaluation. And
That's it. Yeah.
if we're doing a proposal for auditing services and three different firms wanted to come together, and I'm making this up, that's fine. We're not going to rule it out. We're going to score accordingly, but you have to tell us, well, it's firm A, it's firm B, and it's firm C, and here's why
Mm.
we're doing it, and blah, blah, blah. Help us understand. You can't read our mind, and sometimes we forget that. We write bid specs because we know in the back of our brain what we want. We leave half of it out because we thought we knew it. Well, it's the same on your side. We can't read your mind. Tell us the whole picture. And we're all busy, and they're busy. Proposers and bidders are busy. We understand life happens. We all leave things out.
Yeah.
But to the best of your ability, fill us in. Don't assume.
Don't assume. It's good. Very good feedback. What makes someone memorable or trustworthy on your end?
That is a great question. And the answer to me is really basic. Do what you say you'll do, or even do more, and we'll remember you. I
Yeah.
don't If I go to a store, I shouldn't say brand names, I already did, but if I go to a store, I am happy as long as nothing strange happens. And then I don't call that store manager and say, just want to tell you everything went great. You have the best cashiers in the world. I only call XYZ store when I go there and they're out of stock. The workers ignore me. That's human mentality. I call when I'm mad.
Yeah.
In procurement circles, we like to say the vendor that our staff tells us nothing about is the good vendor because they're
Mm.
happy.
Yeah.
When staff is talking to me, I guarantee you they're not calling me to tell me, woo, you picked the best vendor ever. They're calling to tell me exactly the opposite. You
Mhm.
crazy the day you picked this vendor, Terry. So, do what we're paying you to do and we'll be happy.
Mm. That's good. I love that. That's a great perspective of just, what would you do if you go to a store? Would you call them just to tell them they're doing a good job? No call, no problem.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, every
Wow.
now and then some staff member will truly brag on a firm and drop me an email. But by the way, XYZ did a great job, helped us out of a situation. But that's just like me. That's really rare. First to admit, I don't tell the person that does my handyman kind of repairs at home. I don't say, "Ooh, great job" every time. It's sort of rare for me to do that. So,
That's good. What's one thing about your procurement process that vendors never ask, but you feel like they should?
so I would say they never ask why,
Mm.
and that's sort of perhaps a strange answer, but we would rather, and I'm speaking authoritatively to the we that I really shouldn't, because who knows? Every procurement operation is different, as we discussed. But we would probably like people asking us why we put this in the specification. Why is this requirement there? Not in a demanding courtroom kind of thing, but you put this in there, but do you understand that this limits your competition? This drives your cost up. This
Yeah.
just a friendly conversation. When I started a lifetime ago, there was a magical iron wall between procurement and vendors. We weren't supposed to talk to vendors. Somehow we were just supposed to get their bids and never really talk to
Whoa.
them. So the iron wall, the iron curtain, if you're a historical buff, the iron curtain has started to be pulled back, and we'd like to have conversations. Tell us if our bids are restrictive, if our bids don't make sense, but don't wait till the last minute, because then we don't have any
Yeah.
time to do anything about it. But we're not the experts in everything we bid out. In the
Mhm.
private sector, I may be my entire 40-year career might be buying tires. I do
Mm.
become an expert, or
Yes.
copiers or toilet paper or whatever. In government circles, with only a few really, really large entities as the exception, most of us, we buy everything. I cannot be an expert on toilet paper, zoo food, zoo animal food, construction, copiers, auditing services. I know some of the phrases. I know a little bit because I've been around so long, but I am not an expert on any of those. And
That's good.
sometimes the requesting staff is not an expert.
Mm.
They know we have to have a consultant to do some such and such, but they don't know all the parameters. So tell us. Yeah, again, we may not agree, but tell us from your perspective, you might want to consider changing this, dropping the insurance requirement. We may say, no, we can't, or we might go back and then addend the bid and say, yes, we took your request under consideration, and we agree the insurance requirements are too high. So here's the revised insurance requirements, or years of experience. Just I was speaking on insurance, but it could be anything that maybe a mowing company recommends you mow every 7 days, and we put down every 10 days. And they said, well, you really should consider 7 because blah, blah, blah. We're the
Yeah.
experts. And then
Yes.
we might agree and addend it and say, yes, we're changing the cut cycle from 10 days to 7 days based on experts' input. So
Yeah.
have a conversation with us.
I love that. And so
Most of us welcome it.
yes, because and I love that you said that. Thank you so much for saying that, because one of the things that I teach people that are looking to get into government contracts is it starts with your approach to deliver the work, whatever
Yeah.
it is, the performance. So walk people through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. This is what it's going to look like for me to deliver, and this is why. And oftentimes the questions, the RFP itself, the request for proposal itself, Terry, I have found that there is an intent behind everything. Like, so the questions are there for you to respond to, but everything else is there for you to read and
Mhm.
respond to as well in within the questions. So, for example, if the background of the project is, let's keep mowing for an example, it's simple. This is to prepare this property for a future development. Well, my thought is, okay, well, they want to keep it short. They also want to make sure that they're maintaining, pests and bugs and weeds and things like that for future development on this property. So my thoughts are a little bit different. It's not just maintaining the grass, but it's also maintaining the property, make sure it's clean, make sure it's, and so I'm going to come across as a consultant versus just providing you a price like, here's the acres, here's the price, and that's it. Would you agree with that?
Yes, in a sense, we're hiring your expertise in
Mm.
whatever that is, mowing
Yeah.
or auditing or construction. Yes, we have specified we want a 3-story building with 200 apartments and blah blah, made out of brick and whatever. But we also want your input to the extent we agree. But
Yes.
we're hiring your brain. partially to say,
Yes.
well, based
Yeah.
on my 20 years or 40 years or 50 years, and I know people that have been in certain professions 50 years and they're still working. Well, we want part of your brain, at least, your thoughts told to us. We may have our reasons that we don't accept them, but tell us your expertise. That's what we're hiring you for.
Right.
Particularly, goodness, if we're hiring a consultant type, definitely it's what we're wanting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
100%.
again, with my caveat, we want that before we award the bid. I mean, there's a role after the bid too. But to your example, that about the mowing and thinking about keeping it pest free and blah blah free for future development, then I would recommend that you submit that through whatever question format the entity has. So it says mowing, but it also says that you're wanting it mowed for prepping for future development. Do you also want us to try to keep it pest free and keep the brush cut down? Because you need to know that to make a satisfactory bid. Back to,
Yes.
please don't assume, because if you assume we want all of that, your price may be double the next person who assumes, oh, all they want is mowing 28
It's
times
annoying.
because that's all it said.
That's all it says. Yeah, that's what they asked
So
for.
seek clarification.
I love
I
that.
will get, I
Love
will
that.
give, if we have time, I'll give you a classic example without any company names. But a few years ago, we had a demolition bid out there, and we estimate the prices beforehand, which is a federal requirement. And we were shocked that the low bid was like 50% of our cost estimate. And it was also 50% or less of the other bids. So we have what we call a pre-award meeting. We get people in, even if we know them, and that's a great, we still have them come in, make sure we all understand things the same way. So they came in and we started our little routine, and they said, well, we think we know why we're so much less than the others because we post the raw data to our webpage. And I said, oh, what's that? Well, we didn't really read the bid document, so we assumed you just wanted interior demolition, not
Oh,
the
no.
whole footprint. And our staff said, well, yeah, that probably does account for the cost difference, because you were just
Wow.
demolishing drywall and, two by fours. But they assumed, they didn't read it. They actually said they read it driving over to our meeting. Yeah. And they assumed. And of course, we had a bid bond on it. And they were concerned, are you going to take our bond because we can't honor our price? And we said, no, we're sort of, some governments would, but we're
Yeah,
not real. We like to be partners, and so we chose not to. It really didn't cost us more than a couple days. And
to get it, yeah, corrected, yeah.
and then, of course, their next question was, well, why don't you just let us correct our bid? It's like, no, that can't happen. We are government, and you bid what you bid. You either honor it or you withdraw it.
Yep.
And it took them about half hour to work through that. And they were, frankly, they were a little angry at first. What do you mean you won't let us change our bid? We told you we misunderstood. It's like, yes, but we're
That's your fault.
government. Back exactly. Well, I didn't say that, but
Yeah,
back to
well, I would have said it.
transparency and back to transparency, openness, fairness to the others that did understand it. I'm sorry, you can't do that. And, I try to phrase things positively. We've all learned for the next time. And,
Mhm.
so and you gave me the segue, we put things in there for a reason. So please read them. We
Yeah.
don't write because I don't get paid by the word when I write. I don't write long things just because I get paid. So we put things in there for a reason. And yes, sometimes we put too much in or put the wrong, don't update it from 10 years ago. Question us nicely.
Mhm.
You
Yeah, yeah.
and I guess another piece of advice that you didn't ask for, but particularly to different newer vendors, to don't come in with the assumption that it's your right to get this work or this
Absolutely.
order. You
Yeah.
know, we're all taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer too. I fund part of my own salary because I'm a taxpayer. Don't come in with a partner attitude, and sometimes partners disagree, but we can
Mhm.
disagree without being disagreeable. I'm
Yes.
things in life, and I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much for adding that. I think partnership at the end of the day is what we're doing here. We're making better communities. We're impacting the way that people live and the
Yes,
experience that we're offering to our family, our friends, like in ourselves, right? So
that's
we want
right.
to do good business and build relationship with those that are in those positions.
One
What
other
is
th
this? Oh, go ahead.
one other thing pops to mind.
Yeah.
And then, near Knoxville is the city of Oak Ridge, where part of the atomic bomb was developed, and they have a lot of Department of Energy grants up there and Department of
Mhm.
Energy stuff up there. It's about 20 miles from here, so it's a neighbor. But a lot of people get used to dealing with the federal side and how they do things, and then
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about it.
you might choose to bid local government, and your federal certifications, your federal ways of doing things, and I don't mean to sound mean, but they have no significance to us.
Nope.
Local governments do not have an 8A program, which is a set aside kind of program that
For
is being
federal. Mhm.
for the federal government that's being worked on, shall we say, at the moment.
Currently.
But we
Mhm.
don't, and yeah, we'll leave that there. We don't, for another podcast if you wish, but we don't. Local governments don't have that. Some do something somewhat similar, but a
Mhm.
lot of states don't allow that. So you can't,
Mhm.
and that's just one example, but you don't have a lot of the federal stuff has no significance to us. People
Mhm.
come wanting they want to file a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request. Some cities and counties have their own version, but here's our version. You email me if it's not on our webpage, and I'll send it to you. There's
Yeah.
no big
Yeah.
form to fill out, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's the same law, but you just call it like an archive system or
yeah,
a
yeah,
post bid or post proposal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tennessee has an open records laws. Most states do,
Yes.
and the parameters vary by state. But if in the procurement side, I'm not speaking for the rest of the housing authority, but the
That's
procurement
true.
side, once a once an award decision is made, if you want a copy of it, drop just and I'm not begging people to do this, but as an example, drop me an email. There is no form you have to fill out. Now, if you go to our friends in Oak Ridge, just
Oh,
the next
yeah.
county up, and you're doing federal work, not for the city of Oak Ridge, but all the DOE plants there, you will fill out a FOIA, and
Yes.
then it will take however long it takes to get
Yes.
that because it has to be approved by, and I'm making it up, 8 different levels, and whereas here only 150 people work here, so it's real
Pretty quickly.
flat.
Yeah.
So anyway, and if you've worked in the state of Georgia, which is one of our 8 neighbors, their rules are different. So don't assume that when you come into Tennessee or like Chattanooga is right on the south border, don't assume that everything you do or have to do in Georgia will apply.
Mhm.
So,
Right. That's right. Here in Orange County, so I'm in Florida, in Orange County, Florida,
mhm,
government, they have a like an open door policy. You can literally
mhm,
just walk in, they have a desk, you can ask and request, and they
yep,
will just show it to you on the screen, or you can ask for a copy. And so it's not the same for every government, right?
yep, that's right.
But uh, and some take longer than others, some several weeks, depending on how old it is and how big that
Yep,
agency is. But some are pretty immediate and available online. So starting online and then kind of working through that
it
process. But it all goes back to knowing your client and
it does.
building that relationship with them.
And that was you
So,
really did use a perfect analogy about it's like learning a different company. Such
yeah,
a great analogy. And Florida, by
thank
the
you.
way, has about the strongest open record laws in the nation.
Yes,
They're very strong. All of us have them, but not usually quite as strong as Florida's.
transparent. Yes, that could be another podcast too.
Yes,
Why that
yes.
is. Um,
There's
but
a reason
yeah,
for everything.
there's a reason. There really
There
is
is.
a reason for everything. What is the just kind of like pivoting to what is the smartest way a business can build a relationship with an agency before the RFP is posted?
So one way, and I sort of mentioned, find your entrance, whether that's central procurement or straight to departments. But
Mhm.
one way that often is effective is providing some sort of low cost or free training opportunity.
Yes. Great.
So we will
Great.
circulate information here, not everything, but for instance, if a local vendor or they don't have to be headquartered locally, but they have a local presence, is going to do a new equipment show if it's a bulldozer kind of place, and they're going to have hot dogs and do a demo. Well, we will circulate that with maintenance staff, fleet kind of people, and if they have time, they'll go and learn about the newest things in bulldozers in that example. Or perhaps your agency does a safety training, your company does worker safety training or
Mm.
well training, a free refresher of we're not asking for a certification program, but like a,
Great.
welding 101 that you may have forgotten, and it's a 2-hour thing. We'll circulate that, and then you start forming some relationships. So that's one way, but also most governments have some sort of outreach, whether it's every month there's open doors in procurement from 2 to 5 on the third Thursday. Some take that approach. Some of us have quarterly open houses. Some of us have once a year. A lot of governments celebrate Public Procurement Month in March and have some sort of open house, usually with some donuts or something, but you can get in and depending on the entity, they might have department heads come or some of them come, or it may just be the
Mm.
procurement staff. Here in Knoxville, Knox County, and our region, we have started for about 5 years, 6 years, yeah, right before COVID, so almost 6 years. We started having a lot of joint events. As I mentioned, there's 15 governments and there's like
Yeah.
10 active through our local public procurement trade association. We will have, I mean, we have our own events also, but we have some joint events. We have the city, the county, the airport, the housing authority, the university, and some others outside our county, some people from the next county over, the other cities around here. Maybe there's 15 of us and we have a reverse trade show and you can come in for free, and
Ooh, it's
we may
awesome.
have some food items, we have brochures about who we are. We also have put together a top 10 question. We have sort of a core group. We call it the Small Business Alliance through our trade group, and we put together the top 10 questions. So, housing authority answered, what is your bid threshold? The university did, the city,
Ah,
the
that's
county, the
good.
airport. What are your typical insurance requirements? We all answered that. How do I get registered to receive bid notifications? We all answered like 10, 12 questions, and we some of us post that. And but when we have these joint events, we usually have it as a handout because we find that what was happening, and granted we're in a metro area, but we would have an event for outreach on December 15th. The city would have one on December 16th. The county had one on the 14th. The
It's a
airport has
lot.
one
Yeah.
on January the 3rd. It's like, so we coordinate to some degree, but we still all do our own also.
Sure.
But
Sure.
but we try not that way we at least know when each other's doing our thing and we're not having one on the same day at the same time. So those are great opportunities, and a lot of well, I don't know about a lot, but some cities and counties have a vendor fair perhaps after their budget's approved. The
Mm,
city of Knoxville calls it a business breakfast. So once the budget's approved, all the major departments and some of us that get grants. So I show up at
that's
theirs,
right.
as
Yeah.
does the airport and some of the utility board. We publish our major bids for the year, and then we show up at that event, and people can come to our little booth and the city police booth and the city fire department booth, the public works booth, and we talk about when our bids are coming up, whether it's a standing bid just coming up for renewal, or we're building a new school or a new whatever, and we hand out sort of a calendar of upcoming bids. So those kind of things are another great way if you have the time and somebody's available. Again, time is money, and if you're a small company and there's three of you, do you really want to send one third of your workforce to that? Maybe,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you have to
Right.
think through it. You have
Who?
to,
Yeah, the
yeah,
right who. Yeah.
yeah. And if you're all three out bidding something that day, maybe you're not going to make that one. But you know what? Usually the PowerPoints and the calendar of bids is usually available online nowadays. So you may not be able to meet Terry and shake his hand and take his candy or whatever I'm giving away that year, but you can probably find the really important stuff from those kind of events.
Mm. Really thinking about the last couple of years and where we're going with government and where we're going in terms of a nation. What are some of the trends and changes that you're seeing that vendors should be prepared for right now?
Well, let's talk about a negative one and or one that could be perceived as negative. Everything depends on your perspective. Then I'll end with two more positive ones. On the potentially negative side, the federal government, all the COVID funds are drying up, and the current administration sees fit to do a lot of things differently and may not fund certain things at all in the future. And everybody's entitled to their political opinion, and that's fine. But we may all those COVID funds for infrastructure and those kind of
Yeah.
things, those are drying up very rapidly. And
Yeah.
a lot of local governments use that to build sewers and to build stadiums and build schools and whatever. So a lot of that roads, resurface roads, so a lot of that is rapidly leaving. So depending on what market you're in, hopefully you're already aware of that. But that is
Yeah.
a big change. Plus, beyond that, the current administration just doesn't necessarily see fit to fund certain things. So big changes. But on a more positive note, two really big trends are online bidding. Most governments are trying to get there. To give perspective, when I started my career, we had 8-part purchase orders, and I had, I think, 6 buyers and 5 clerk typists,
Wow.
because people had to type all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had,
Yeah.
we talk about white out, but there's also green out, blue out, goldenrod out, pink out. I don't remember all the colors anymore, but they had a little tray because there were 8 copies. If you had a typo, you had to white it out on every copy. So we've moved from that to most of us have online bidding portals. Or I don't know if most, but a lot of us, and
A lot.
most will
Yeah.
soon if they don't already.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you as a vendor or bidder want to be prepared for that. Now, everything we do is not bid, but a huge portion of government work is local, state, and federal is bids. So you have to be prepared to do that. And it's beyond that. It's also submitting your insurance certificate electronically, submitting your bid electronically,
Mhm.
signing things electronically.
No, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just uploading your bid. In the old days, when I started my career, we had to call you if we needed a new insurance certificate or if we needed a renewal signed, a bid extension signed. Now we're not calling you. I'm going to email you. So you have to be able to respond to emails or have someone. Again, back to preference, you may hate email. That's fine if you have somebody that can do it.
Yes.
Most governments are not going to be calling you, hey, we need you to sign a renewal. They're going to email you, we need you to sign the renewal. And then the second thing, oh, by the way, most of the online bidding platforms, either the government pays for, so there's
Mhm.
usually no cost to the vendor, or some of the governments have a package where there is a free option, but there's also paid options. And what we
Mm.
always counsel people here at our authority is try the free option, and if it works for you, why pay for one of the paid ones? And
The paid option.
our partner that does the portal knows I tell people that they
Yeah.
have their business model, and they understand. So usually there's no cost to register. Sometimes there is. But then the second big thing that we all are probably starting to struggle getting ready for is AI.
Yeah.
I am a boomer. I used AI this morning. I've used it, really got started this year, but particularly the
Proud of you,
last 6
Terry.
months.
Proud of
Yeah.
you.
Um, and businesses are going to have to use it, but not
Yeah.
just use it, we all have to control it.
Mhm.
I gave the example much earlier about, and it was not AI, but it was sort of equivalent, a company that submitted a proposal. They were going to cut and paste, except they forgot to paste the new, our name as opposed to the city of Chicago. And it's the same with AI. It's a tool. It is not the end all. You have to, create me a proposal for Knoxville Community Development Corporation for mowing 20 sites every 7 days. Okay, that's fine. Now you got to proof that, make it
Yeah.
realistic to us. You can't just submit it. You can't trust it. Much like just because AI says it, it's just like Facebook saying it. Is it really true just because it's on Facebook?
That's good. That's
But
good.
you do need to use that. And some people freak out, but we've been using AI. If you're online with Comcast or Time, or the other cable companies, Warner, I think it is one of them, and Charter Communications. If you're on their little chat thing, that's AI. If you're talking to your hotel rewards group chat, that's AI. Not to a point.
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
they'll
To a
get.
point.
Uh,
Yeah.
so don't freak out. It's not some awful alien thing. You've been using it. When you call a phone system, and it's, if you want so and so, press one, and please state your reason for calling. That's AI, some
Yeah.
variant of AI.
Yeah.
So we've been using it. It's just companies are going to have to incorporate it and control it, and
Yeah.
governments are doing it. So businesses need to be aware that we're doing it too.
Yeah.
I belong to some e-chat groups, and there was a discussion yesterday about using AI to get daily reports on businesses that have declared bankruptcy, got
Oh,
debarred by the federal government, or under
whoa.
an investigation that's public, to save us time. And none of us have time to
Yeah.
sit and do all that. But someone posted this, I happen to know her, she's very knowledgeable, Brooke out of Utah. She posted what you would put in AI to get a daily kind of report that's pretty much automated. So I don't
Mm.
have to go to the Department of Justice investigations, the state comptroller investigations in our state. It's the state comptroller. I don't have to go to the federal debarment list every day. It will search all of those for me and
That's so
generate any
cool.
reports. So we're doing it, and you have to be willing to accept that, and you have to be willing to do it. I suspect, I'm not a business person, but I think you have to be willing to do it to make yourself more efficient. I
Yes.
bumped into a man at the city of Knoxville does a citizens police academy. You go, I think it's 10 weeks, and learn the inner workings. But one of the gentlemen, he's very advanced. He's a single person company. He has it in his voice. When you call his business number, it sounds like you're talking to him, because until a certain point, but you're talking to Terry. I
Yeah.
can't, this second, I can't think of his name, but you think you're talking to Terry, and that Terry's telling you, thank you for calling McKee Enterprises. We are so glad you called. Is your call about? And then at
Yeah.
some point he will personally call you back. But he created a bot to do that kind of stuff. I think he said 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we all have to understand we are dealing with AI in its various forms and maximize it.
And maximize it. I love that. That's such great advice. And I'm proud of you, Terry, for using AI. I'm so proud of you. Golly, that's so good. This is awesome. If there's anything else that you would like to share with our audience as we're wrapping up today, there's just a lot of nuggets, to be honest, in this conversation. So I'm
So
really honored and grateful for it.
oh, it's been my pleasure. I'll end with a couple thoughts. One, most government procurement people would love to share and answer your questions. if they have time, when they can. We don't want to be secretive, but it's just like any profession, there's a lot of acronyms and
Mm,
we don't use the same ones across the nation. So what we use in Tennessee, they may not use a lot of the same acronyms in Georgia, for instance, but we would generally love to speak at your events. Some of us will speak at Chamber of Commerce or the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or the Northeast Quadrant business community, or we will come speak to the Lions Club if you want us to, and put on educational sessions for you. But don't think we're the enemy, is my second thing. We're not the
yeah,
enemy. Yes,
I
we
love
have to enforce the rules,
mm,
but we're trying, in spite of the rules and dotting the I's, crossing the T's, in spite of that, we try to make good business decisions for our entities because we're citizens too. So don't
mm,
ever think we're the enemy. We just have a job that sometimes can be a little difficult to do if we don't all understand the rules. And with that, I think I'm done.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you so much, Terry. Guys, you had so much value come out of this conversation. It is insane. I want you back, Terry. I want you back in another conversation because I know that our audience is going to love every moment of this and really be able to have more confidence and clarity in terms of their journey with government contracting. So thank you
Sure.
so very much.
Anytime.
And awesome. Well, everyone else, enjoy your week, but most importantly, get out there, build relationship with your local and state agencies. In addition to federal, there are opportunities for your business to grow, to stabilize, to fill in those leaks in your business that you're training out of cash flow. You need the cash flow. Build relationship with government because you never know how that relationship is going to turn out for your business.